So, you were saying how it might be a bad idea to try to defeat him because he is the only one that knows how to fight.
Yeah, that is what I said. Aren't I smart?
The windows suddenly tint, blocking the worst of the light, and that's when I'm able to see a massive ball of fire in front of the ship. The size of it is incredible.
Orbital trajectory will intersect with a photosphere. Ensure safety straps are in place, making corrective maneuvers.
I only have a moment to wonder what the hell Com is talking about before Amicus and I are thrown sideways into the left window of the ship. The impact is mostly cushioned by Amicus's body, and I hear him yell and curse under me. Move! Get in the seat! I struggle to reach out to the seat in front of me, but I can barely lift my hand. The gravity of the star is so powerful it feels like it's going to suck out my soul. Then I'm suddenly boosted up by something behind me, and I look back, the movement making me feel like my neck is going to break. I see Amicus with his back planted against the window, his feet pushing me up to the seat. I manage to grab the armrest and pull myself into it. Now the left armrest is digging painfully into my back, making it feel as if a professional wrestler is slamming me into a backbreaker. Amicus jumps from the window, high enough that his feet land against the right side of my chair. Then he jumps again, managing to wedge himself into the footwell of the opposite seat.
Heat shields are compromised. Expect heat damage to outer layers of ship in 30 seconds.
With a great deal of snarling and gasping, he pushes himself awkwardly into the seat, both feet planted against the panels in front of him for leverage. He turns to me, teeth bared, a determined look in his eyes. Look at your right armrest. Do you see the green panel between the red buttons? Through the shock, I'm somehow able to understand him and look down. Now, drag your finger across it to the left. It'll steer the ship. I feel panic starting to rise in my chest at the idea of steering a goddamn spaceship. What? Just do it. Point us away from the star. I do as I'm told, sliding a thumb gingerly over the green panel. And slowly the ship turns, pointing away from the star, shifting the incredible force of gravity until it's pulling us back into the seats. Now see that lever in between us? Yeah? Pull it down. Now reaching my hand out is almost impossible as it gets pulled back toward the star behind us. Gritting my teeth, I lean forward as hard as I can, practically throwing myself forward and grabbing onto the lever. Then gravity does the rest of the work and the lever comes down hard. I lose my grip and get thrown back into my seat. The gravity increases twofold for a moment and it feels like my entire body's being crushed into a pancake. And then the burning orange light is gone and the deck goes black.
Running diagnostics. Amicus?
Yes, Com?
Damage to ship is severe. Recovery mode is required.
Enter recovery mode.
Standby.
We sit in silence for a long, long time. I lean against the seat with both feet drawn up to my chest, feeling numb and shaky. I also feel stupid, embarrassed, and kind of guilty. On one hand, I nearly got us both killed. But on the other hand, it's this crazy alien almost killed me by bringing me here in the first place. At least it feels that way. I still don't know what his ultimate plan is with me. I wonder for the 100th time if I'm going to wake up. I plug my nose and try to breathe through my nostrils. No air comes through. I sigh and look out the window, at the blue glow that we've found ourselves in. The star that we just escaped is far away now, though it's still an almost blinding tiny orb to my far left, kind of like the sun was not too long ago. So they did a callback to the method of escaping a dream earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Like they nested it, they pay it off. Just little details.
It's good storytelling.
I feel like I think about these things a lot because I'm always like wondering like what to learn from, and then I'm trying to think of like how to write my own stories sometimes, and I'm like what are these mechanisms? There's all these little tricks to it, like things that you do there.
I love, like, one of my favorite things in movies is when that kind of thing happens. You're like, oh yeah, that thing came up earlier. Or at the very end, like, something comes in clutch that was, like, mentioned briefly in a way that, because sometimes movies are kind of on the nose about it, where what they mention is, like, very obviously going to come up later. But sometimes it's more subtle, where they forced you to pay attention to something that you didn't think was going to be relevant, and you forget about it because the movie does good and doesn't point it out super obviously. But when it comes up later, you remember that slight thing that happened earlier on in the movie. There's something very satisfying about that, and I feel like really good stories have that, usually on multiple levels, or there's like a handful of things that come up again.
Like we watched like the first 5 episodes of Peacemaker, and wasn't that happening a lot? Like there was like moments like that, like, oh shit. I feel like that show was like really good at being like really tightly written to kind of be wrapping into
tightly
itself.
Written is like a way to put that. You still have to see everything everywhere all at once, because that happens a ton in that movie, because it's about alternate realities. So there are things that occur over and over again. I probably missed my
chance, didn't I, to see it in theaters. Stuff goes by so quick compared to...
Was tonight the last night to see it in theaters?
No, I said I probably missed my chance.
Oh, I see.
I don't know about anything about tonight specifically. Like I just like, I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds good. And then I'm like... just kind of realize at some point, oh, I guess 3 weeks went by or something, and it's gone now.
Well, I remember when we were younger, movies would stay in theaters for much longer because there were a lot less movies, and so like Lion King or whatever would just be in theaters for a fucking long ass time. Now it seems like they're on to the next thing in like the blink of an eye.
Everyone's got to share the third of the theater that's left over that isn't being used by the Marvel movie, and that Marvel movie has to get out of the way for the next Marvel movie half the time. Yeah,
it's already on the way. It's like in the pipeline. There's like 5 more. Pow, pow, pow.
Yeah. I wonder if it's on demand anywhere.
I very much recommend that movie to both you and every person in the audience. It is a fantastic movie.
It's lighting up all this dust that's around us with an eerie blue glow. It's kind of calming. Nebulous, even. I look over at Amicus and see him slumped in his chair, looking out the window. His shoulders are hunched, ears drooping, and his head down. He's on the edge of his seat because his arms are still tied behind his back, forcing him to lean forward a bit. Comm hasn't spoken since we went into recovery mode, and the ship hasn't moved at all. The usual hum isn't even there. It's like everything's turned off. I finally decide to break the silence. Amicus? I see his ears flick, but he keeps his head down, not even looking at me. I swallow, then try again. Amicus. I see his shoulders rise and fall in a deep sigh, but he keeps silent. I'm about to just give up and slump back into my seat when he suddenly responds. What? What's happening? The wolf turns to glare at me. What do you mean, what's happening? You broke the ship. He turns away and continues to sulk. I feel a little anger at that, and I realize that this alien isn't alien at all. He's acting just like an upset human kid that didn't get his way. It makes me a little less afraid of him. Excuse me? Do I have to go through the list of shit that you did to me? Amicus turns to me again, and I can almost see his mind working to think of some sort of comeback. Well, I think you topped it by nearly throwing us into a star, human. You shouldn't have kidnapped me in the first place, wolf. I should be calling you child, since that's what you are. Well, this child outsmarted you, zapped you, and tied you up. I see him bristle, the hackles rising on his shoulders like a dog.
I like all the animal, like, them reminding you, like, I mean, as if you're looking at him, but all their little hackles and bristling and his little ears flicking around.
And so on. Mm-hmm. Well, they also said padding, I guess, for Marco, because he's barefoot.
Yeah. But it's very distinct kind of movement that I totally picture. It's like walking on a tile floor without shoes on.
Yeah. You could have killed me. That setting is meant for creatures 3 times my size. How was I supposed to know? I didn't know anything about what's going on.
Yeah, you're pretty blameless in this.
Yeah. I told you what's going on. You really think I'm stupid, don't you? Amicus points and turns away again. Pouts. I think you thought I was some stupid alien you could take advantage of. I can tell you've been lying to me this whole time. Amicus flattens his ears even more, shoulders bunching up. Is that what your people do? Kidnapping and lying to everyone you meet? Now his hackles really raise up, and he turns on me fast. I try not to lean back. Despite the similarities, he's still a wolf, and those teeth are terrifying. I did not lie. The wolf's righteous indignation seems to deflate. This situation's too complicated for you to understand. I glare at him. Who's tied up again? Amicus doesn't take the bait this time and remains slumped. I guess it doesn't matter now. We're probably going to die out here with how badly the ship is burned. That makes my stomach twist a bit. I want to ask him if he's just moping or if he actually thinks we're going to die. But another long moment of silence stretches between us. I look out at the window again, the towering clouds of dust in front of us. Well, if that's the case, then can you at least tell me what's going on? Amicus goes on staring out his window. I sigh and lean back, resigned to the idea that I might not ever know why I was dragged out to space to simply get stuck and die in a dust cloud. Then Amicus speaks. I made some mistakes. I glance at him, waiting, not wanting to say anything in case he stops talking. I didn't know your species wasn't part of the Galaxius. It's very illegal to make first contact without authorization from a parent. Parent? The authorities of the galaxy. I frown, and Amicus looks at the confusion on my face. How can I put this simply? There are 3 levels in the Galaxius. At the very top are the parents. They arrived from beyond our galaxy and spread their culture here. Amicus glances at me. You know what a galaxy is? That there are others outside of your own? Yeah. Amicus lets out a breathy chuckle. Of course, I should have probably expected that. So you must know that that intergalactic travel is incredibly advanced, almost godlike, and that's what they are. Gods. There are 8 of them that are still present in our galaxy, though they rarely communicate with us these days. Then there are the siblings. That's what my species is a part of. The galaxy was scoped out by the parents at the very start to find the most intelligent and capable species. They each selected one, and we were the ones chosen and uplifted by the Romanists. The note of pride in Amicus's voice is obvious. From then on, it has been our mission to increase the intelligence in promising species and to teach them our philosophy and culture, to uplift. I try to make sense of this in terms I can understand. So you spread their culture for the parents? They're like your gods, and your species are like missionaries. Amicus shrugs. Yeah, sort of like that. This doesn't sound so great, especially when I compare it to things that have happened on Earth. Mass galactic assimilation? So why are they doing this? If they got here at the same time and did the same thing, does that mean they're working together? Amicus shakes his head. We don't really know all the reasons for what the parents do, but we compete with the other siblings. But that brings me to the rest of the sapients in the galaxy, the children. The siblings uplift these children and bring them into our fold under the direction of our parents. Again, they haven't told us exactly what's going on, but we came to the conclusion that it's some sort of competition. We mean to win for our parents. So, I'm a child? Well, no, not really. I've been calling you that, but you're not part of the Galaxius, and that's where I've made my mistake. Like I said, it was illegal for me to contact you, but I didn't know. How did you not know that? Shouldn't you have a record of this kind of stuff? That's the confusing part to me. I found Earth in the library, so there was a record of it, but there wasn't much, just a few footnotes about a sapient species there. But because that record exists, I know that your species was uplifted to child status at some point. In Rome? Presumably, but sometimes the species is unable to uplift for different reasons. Too aggressive, too docile, too unintelligent. Amicus glances at me. I thought this is what happened to your species. Then if we've been uplifted, doesn't that mean that you've already made first contact? So this is what you, this is the, I enjoyed this detail, because you brought this up on your own earlier, was the part that the Roman emperor was supposed to be raised by wolves. Mm-hmm. And so we find out that this is wolf species apparently that tried to uplift in Rome, and you're like, hang on a minute.
Yeah, wait a second.
Hang on just a gosh dang minute, what's going on here? It's like really clever. But it's also a good break from the usual trend where the people are always like, all of these not white people, they must have been, aliens must have made all of their relics and things. And no one could have made pyramids and things. It must have been aliens. And it's like, well, here's the specific culture that Western society always prides itself on. It's like, that one's done by aliens and this one, fuck you.
Yeah, they're pretty much the basis for a lot of European cultures and American cultures. And a lot of our symbolism comes from the Romans. So and also he didn't respond, or he didn't react earlier to you calling him a wolf, which is the first time that it actually came up. Yeah. And so he actually does have a connection with it, and he's aware of at least.
Or it just translates to accurately to just
I guess wolves, so.
Because they just call him that, I think.
But he's aware that he looks like what is on our planet a wolf, because there must be some sort of actual crossover.
Yes, but you're still not part of the Galaxius. That's why I made the mistake. You should know about it, but you don't. Knowledge of other intelligent life is sacred, and for whatever reason, your species lost it. So it doesn't matter that we've made contact before. If the knowledge of the Galaxius has been lost, then any form of communication between us is first contact all over again. And while uplift has been cancelled with species in the past, we don't completely cut off contact. They're permanently part of the Galaxius. I've never heard of something like this happening before, so I panicked. Calm. Amicus glances at the ceiling. Wasn't able to tell me that until he connected to your nexus. Nexus? Another word that doesn't translate. Like, the technology that connects places, people, information. The internet? If that's your word for it. So, I try to understand everything I'm being told. Why didn't you just tell me all of this before you kidnapped me or knocked me out? I see Amicus's ears flatten and he looks away, clearly ashamed. I don't know. I didn't fully understand the intelligence of your species yet. I thought I could just lead you to believe things. Well,
maybe certain people.
Being really frank here about how fucking stupid you thought I was when I started. I don't say anything, and Amicus shifts uncomfortably. Leaving you on Earth after you saw me, you might have gone to the authorities on your planet with the knowledge which might have led to a monitor being alerted. Amicus answers my question before I can answer it. Monitors are basically the ears and eyes of the parents. They monitor the galaxy. And what happens if they're alerted? Amicus sighs deeply. I don't know. It hasn't happened in a long time, and I don't think anyone has ever broken this particular law. It's one of the most important laws we're supposed to follow. Knowing I'd broken it... Amicus pauses. Scared you? Amicus shakes his head but doesn't say anything. I try to piece all this together in my head. So then you panicked and kidnapped me. It was either that or kill you, or leave you and hope for the best, but that was a risk that I felt I couldn't take at the time. Amicus seems to shrink in his seat. And I guess I just didn't want to tell you because I knew I'd disrupted your life in a terrible way. I thought I might be able to make you forget, and want to stay with me if you saw my home. Just forget about my entire home. It's fine.
Just see my family, like my mom.
Like But why? Why'd you do it in the first place? What do you want from me? Amicus looks at me for a long while, probably debating on how much to tell me, and then he turns away. I needed a pet. Here we go. Excuse me? Amicus shrinks up even more in his chair. It's a very long story.
You couldn't pick a different word. Like pet is the best word for what you're trying to say. I guess it's better than like a slave or something, like or a kidnappee.
I glare at the back of his head. Well, if we're gonna be here a while, then I have time. Amicus goes on, staring out the window. My father was the emperor. The throne was mine to take, but my brother has challenged me, so now we're both competing for it. Amicus looks at me out of the corner of his eye for my reaction. His expression tells me I should be impressed, but learning he might be an influential figure among his people doesn't really seem too crazy after the events of the past day or so. And getting a pet will help you how? My brother has one, a sibling species, which means that his pet is on the same level of the hierarchy as us. That sounds like an ethical problem. I frown. Oh, and that's unusual? Definitely, it shouldn't even be legal, but he somehow negotiated it. They signed a contract and everything. I shake my head. So what does having a pet do? Amicus shrugs. It's a good status symbol to have. The fact that my brother was able to obtain such a prestigious pet shows his skill at negotiation, and has put me at a huge disadvantage. I needed to do something even more grand to impress my father's advisor. He's the one that will choose between us. By kidnapping me? Amicus growls. That wasn't part of the plan. I thought you'd know what I was and be amazed that a wolf would come back to your species. I was going to make a deal with you, like my brother did with his pet. I wanted a sapient that no one had seen in a long time. He was trying to catch a shiny.
I know, we're some fancy thing.
We're such a fancy, exotic pet.
Wow, I feel so nice. I'm not a goldfish. I'm like some special fancy beta.
One of those fish that you buy and then you're like, oh shit, I don't know how to take care of this. Then it dies a week later.
I'm like an arowana or something.
So that's why I'm here, to be used as some pawn in some power struggle in some alien empire far away. So why can't you take me back? What if I promise not to say anything? I would take you back if I could. I realize now that would have been the better option, but I can't. Why not? First of all, the ship might be damaged beyond repair. Secondly, there isn't enough power to get back. Earth was on the outer reaches of how far I can travel. I need the rest to return home. I managed to stop myself from telling the wolf that all of this is his fault and shouldn't be my problem at all. Well, can we get more power when we go to your home, then back to Earth? No, it's a type of power that the parents produce. We're not able to harness it yet. So get more from them, then. From wherever you got the power in the first place. Amicus leans his head against the headrest. Our parents authorizes and distributes it, and for whatever reason they stopped supplying it when we lost our emperor. I feel myself growing more and more frustrated. Then how the hell are you using it now? A moment of silence goes by. This was my father's ship. Only the Emperor has constant access to the technology. I borrowed it to get to you. I glare at him. You mean you stole it? You know, you're pretty dishonest for someone who says they never lie. Another soft, rumbling growl from him. Times are desperate. Ask your dad to take me back then. If you didn't gather from earlier, he's dead, so no one has access to it right now. I'm just using up what was left. I stare at Amicus for a while, words failing me. Listen, I didn't want to do all those things I did to you. I'm protecting us both. I laugh. Oh, really? Yes. I was planning to bring you to the palace to give you a good life and forget your old one.
Like a dog.
Then when you start asking those questions, I realize your intelligence is much higher than I thought it would be. Then Calm thought you might attack me. I made mistakes. I love his reactions during that whole sequence where he just keeps asking you. He's just condescending to you, and then you're like, "Yeah, I know what a fucking moon is." He's like, "Oh fuck." That's
He's
when
like,
you realize
shoot.
that you fucked up. Amicus lets out another huge sigh and slumps in his seat, looking away. Several minutes go by in silence, both of us staring out into the eerie blue. So what now? What are your plans? Amicus is the one to laugh this time. Get out of these bonds if you'd let me. I look at him incredulously. Amicus sighs. Listen, you have no idea how to handle this ship. I can at least run diagnostics to see what we can do about this. What's to stop you from knocking me out again? If you don't attack me or hit me with the Nervo again, then I won't have to. I look at my armrest and pick up the little taser device. This? Amicus eyes it unsteadily. Yeah. How can I trust you after everything that's happened? I give you my word. I frown. And you could go back on it just as easily. I would never do that. I don't make promises lightly, Marco. Amicus is so indignant that I actually believe him. Or he's just a really good actor. Either way, I'm going to have to let him go at some point, especially if we can't get back to Earth. So I make my decision. If I let you go, you have to find a way to get me back to Earth. Amicus thinks for a moment. I can do that if I become Emperor. And how long will that take? Amicus shrugs. A few months if all goes well. With your help, it could be even faster. You're very clever. More intelligent than some wolves I know, even. Months? My parents are probably freaking out by now. School starts in a few weeks. All of these things seem so distant now. Because they are literally very far away.
Very, very.
Have fun with that problem. Amicus frowns. I'm sorry, but I can't do anything. I need to be an emperor or to even talk to the parents. I think, but again I don't have many options. I look Amicus in the eye. You promise. You have my word. For a moment I sit there, contemplating. And then I sit up straight. All right, stand up. Amicus perks up, then hops to his bound feet, almost falling over. I'm sure to place the Nervo close behind me, just in case. A few minutes later, and the wolf is free. We both regard each other warily for a few moments before Amicus finally sighs. Listen, I have no reason to incapacitate you now that you know everything, but if it makes you feel better, you can hang on to the Nervo until we get to Adastra. That a fair exchange? I look back at the little device. While I have little reason to trust Amicus, the wolf has virtually no reason to trust me. I consider it, then shake my head. Can we put it away somewhere? I'd rather not be thinking about it. Amicus looks at me in surprise, then rubs his stomach where I jabbed him. Okay. Yeah, that sounds like a deal to me. Amicus holds out a paw, and I look down at the thick black pads on his fingers and palm before picking up the Nervo and handing it to him carefully. For a moment I imagine him immediately turning the thing around and jabbing it in my face, but instead he turns and walks towards the back of the ship. I notice his stance is slightly bow-legged as he adjusts himself a few times. That makes me feel a little guilty about fighting dirty earlier, but only a little. On his way, he sweeps up a cape in one fluid motion before wrapping it around his shoulders. Then he moves to the back wall and, sticking out a paw, presses a panel, and a small portion of the wall slides back, revealing another smaller room. From where I can see what looks like a little cot in various cupboards. From where I am, I can see that.
There you go.
Like, what am I fucking missing in the sentence?
Well, it's hard when the sentence like repeats itself in a way where when you're skimming it, you think you're reading the same thing twice.
Where I am, I can see. He opens up one of these and places the Nervo inside it before shutting it. He comes back out and notices me staring. That's my quarters. It's where I sleep. If you need to urinate or whatever else you do, there's a toilet in there.
I wonder how long has it been since I've peed? Like,
I don't even know. It's been days at this point.
I feel like it's been a long ass time.
How much? We haven't had food maybe for a
just
day.
Just like gross sludge. I think we might be dying.
We're just on our way out. I'm fine for now. How though? I feel my stomach gurgle. Something that it's been doing for a while now.
See?
I am a little hungry though. Amicus raises a brow. You want to try it again? Sure.
I guess.
It's not the worst food I've ever had. The earthy smell translates into the taste, but there's a strange hint of sweetness to it, like chocolate that makes it a little more palatable. I can at least swallow it down without gagging, so that's good, I guess. Phrasing. Amicus has his own cup, though he's paying more attention to the panels than to his food. I may have been exaggerating a bit earlier. Damage appears to be minimal. We're actually lucky that you didn't lock onto something worse, like a pit. There was one very near that star. A pit? Amicus shrugs, waving his hands in the air as if brushing my question
Probably
aside.
a black hole. Yeah,
A very strong gravitational singularity that sucks everything up around it. Like a black hole? Black hole. Like, its gravity is so powerful that even light gets pulled into it. That's why they're black. Amicus looks at me in surprise. Oh, you know what that is? Guess I should stop being surprised, honestly.
Well, I mean, I don't know. You've already shown us a bunch of stuff we didn't know anything about.
Yeah.
Like these weird chairs and
The
gross food.
The chairs are the fixation here.
The panel that opens up into. I don't know. I don't think you should. I think you should definitely.
I wonder
not
in what way
us.
that line chart thing is in any way useful for anyone. That one takes up an entire wall.
What, that one right there?
On the right. Is that reading really doing anything for anyone? Looks really busy.
I'm trying to think of what it could be, but I honestly can't even think of anything. See, don't overestimate me, Amicus. I'm actually a dumbass. I know what a black hole is, but I'll never understand it conceptually. I have no, I can't even speak to it. So, moving on.
Do you know what a black hole is?
I know it in the definition that he said. But the thought of like light being sucked into it is one of those things that I can't.
It's like brain breaking.
I can't grasp onto.
It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. But I mean, something as pathetic as water bends light. So.
Yeah, but if you put, I understand that, I could see it, but when you put it on paper in a formula, I wouldn't be able to explain that either. So, Amicus might be actually way more intelligent than I am, but I'm sure I can tie better knots than he can. So.
You humans really are something. You basically uplifted yourselves. I shrug. We touched on it in my Astronomy 101 class. I don't really know much about them. But the fact that your species found out about them in the first place. Anyway. Amicus presses a button before suddenly the hum of the ship comes back to life. Systems back.
Systems back online.
And. Amicus pulls the lever and suddenly the blue disappears and the windows are filled with warping stars again. I immediately look away, feeling the chocolate mud start to work its way up my throat. Not a great sentence.
No.
You were actually almost at Adastra when you took control. Amicus rubs the side of his neck, wincing as he stretches it out. Should be there fairly soon. What is this? I wave my hand at the window, not looking. The bending light? It's the stretch drive. Basically, space is being shortened ahead of us. Amicus puts his paws closer together in front of himself, and stretched out behind us. Amicus stretches his paws out wide. I don't really know how it works. Only the parents can build this kind of tech, and it's The only way I can get to Earth, or anywhere outside our star system, really. They even figured out a way to make time stand still around us when we travel. Otherwise, way too much time would have passed back home. I'm starting to get a picture of how powerful these parents actually are. Beings capable of warping space and time to their will.
I like how like every sci-fi thing has like a version of that, because the concept of traveling through space is so impossible for us to fathom because of how long it takes even light. Yeah, exactly. How long it even takes light.
Yeah, because we're supposedly limited probably by the speed of light, and the speed of light still takes fucking forever to get from galaxy to galaxy.
So the thought of people like bouncing, from planet to planet is like, we need to have a solution to that. So like every sci-fi enterprise has like a version of that.
Yeah. I thought you were talking about the other thing where every sci-fi thing seems to have some kind of version of the parents. Like in Halo, there's the Forerunners and so on, where like there's always like the sci-fi race that built a bunch of technology throughout the galaxy and is all extinct now, and that people are discovering their stuff everywhere.
Yeah, even like the Dark Crystal has that kind of concept.
Yeah, there's some stuff going on in Dark Crystal. There's Mass Effect has the Protheans. There's like a lot of versions of those, and their names are usually something that is roughly analogous to what everyone else is called.
Well, I mean, we as human beings write sci-fi, and there's going to be correlations to like how we think things need to function, and so like the idea of like some sort of religion is like something that feels built into the way that we live, even if we don't subscribe to it ourselves.
Yep. So how much more time?
Arriving at Stella Vita.
And just like that, the stars become still again. Amicus grins. Welcome to Adastra, Marco. Adastra Marca. I look out the window and see a large green and blue sphere shimmer below me. Beyond it, there's another globe, this one chalky and gray. A smaller and even brighter orb floats further to the right, its color almost pure white. Amicus points to the more Earth-like sphere. That, specifically, is Adastra. The planet to the left is Anchorus. There aren't many people there aside from miners. The smallest is Torque, another moon. I know you live on a planet, so Adastra might seem a bit small to you. I press a hand to the window and notice it's ice cold. Looks pretty big from here. That's what space do, Marco.
It's also what distance does.
Yeah. Amicus leans over the console and starts touching at the screen.
Re-entry sequence engaged.
Go ahead and put your safety straps on. Re-entry is never comfortable in smaller ships.
Just like a small airplane. Same thing. Landing always sucks.
Yeah. I hurriedly do as he says, sitting down and trying to figure out the seatbelt. Eventually, Amicus has to come over and help, showing me how the strap just feeds into the slot. This automatically pulls the straps tightly across my waist and chest. As Amicus gets in his own seat, we start to curve around to the darker side of Adastra. Every now and then there's a bit of a downward tug on my stomach, sort of like when the passenger jet I was in was landing in Rome. I had imagined that things would rattle around, along with a bunch of fire and heat like in a Hollywood movie. Instead, there's only a rumbling sound that accompanies a gentle vibration through the seat. There isn't any fire, but I start to see blue flashes on the otherwise black windows. I look over at Amicus and see that he's got his eyes closed, looking relaxed. The wolf opens his eyes and smiles gently at me. Don't worry, this is all normal. I realize how nervous I must look, so I nod and lean my head back in the seat. The electric blue flashes stop after a while, and I feel one final downward pull in my body before the rumbling fades out. We sit in complete silence and darkness for a moment before I hear Amicus moving next to me. Okay, we're in the hangar right now. Just follow me into the palace. Amicus gets up, but the ship stays dark. So does the hangar. Okay, why aren't there any lights? Everyone's probably asleep. I don't want to wake them up. I got the feeling that he just doesn't want anyone to catch us, but I don't say anything. I fiddle with my seatbelt, unable to get it done until I feel Amicus lean over me, breathing in my ear as his large paw covers mine, pressing something that releases the strap. I stand up, feeling around blindly as I hold onto my seat, only barely able to make out the red bristles of the handrest in front of me. Headrest. I reach out a hand. Hey. Amicus's rough paw pads envelop my hand. What's wrong? I can't see anything. Oh, can you not see in low light? Amicus starts pulling me along before I hear a soft beep, then a whooshing sound. Not really.
It's weird that you wouldn't really think about that.
Yeah.
But it makes sense.
But
He's a wolf guy.
It's another example of him not really thinking ahead on anything.
Yeah.
Just letting things surprise him.
Well, I mean, to him, there's like no other way. So why would you think of that, you know?
Another sound catches my attention. Crickets. They have crickets here too? And on that cliffhanger question.
It's very important to the plot line.
It's really important. I don't know how we're going to resolve this. So begins the cricket arc next time.